People, you're watching Brudsy Entertainment. I am joined with a very special guest, a TikTok influencer, Lynn Kyle. How are you today?
I'm all right, thank you. Thank you for having
Fantastic,
me on.
fantastic, fantastic. I'm dreadfully sorry, like I said to you, I'm running a bit late for this interview, but we're here. We're persevered, and we're here now.
We are.
Okay, okay. So I'm going to just start with just introducing, getting you to introduce yourself to us, just where you're from, a little bit about your upbringing and stuff, and I'll fire it off to you.
Yeah. Well, obviously, I'm called Lynn Kyles. I'm from Cumbria. I live in like a little town called in Whitehaven.
You don't have to give specific details where you're at and
All
stuff like
right.
that. Yeah, it's just
Yeah. I've got two children. I've got one that's
okay.
18.
Wow.
Yeah, and one that's coming up 12.
Okay.
Yeah, they keep me on the toes, especially the 12-year-old. Yeah, he
Hmm.
has like additional needs, like he has ADHD and a bit of autism.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah. So it's very
Wow.
challenging at times with him.
Wow. And how old are you, sir?
36.
So you're 36 and you have an 18-year-old kid. Tell me about that. That must have been very interesting.
Yeah, I was very young when I had Toby. I was like 17 when I found out I was pregnant,
Wow.
18 when I had him.
Okay.
I won't lie, it was a struggle because I was so young. Um, I ended up with like postnatal depression through
Hmm.
it all because I had such a traumatic birth.
Wow.
His dad wasn't the nicest to me either.
Okay.
So yeah, that was like that was quite a hard time in my life because I didn't really bond with Toby until he was about 2 or 3.
Hmm.
But now we're best friends.
Wow.
Like
Wow.
I tell him everything, he tells me everything.
Hmm.
He is actually my best friend.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a nice relationship that we've got with each other.
Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing. So you said, obviously, it's quite normal for young girls when they have babies to sort of struggle with the pregnancy and postnatal depression is a massive
Yeah.
thing that a lot of women. It's kind of like men with mental health. It's a lot like when women are going through it, no one wants to admit that they need a little bit of help, and then until
Yeah.
it sort of it builds up, and then they're
It gets
sort of
yeah, it gets too far. Like that's what it was with me. I just thought there was something wrong with me. Like I just thought I was a horrible person.
hmm
Even though I give birth to Toby and I felt everything, when they
hmm
initially put him on my chest, I just pushed him away because
yeah,
in my head that wasn't my son. I
yeah.
know it sounds crazy, and that went on for ages, and it took till about Toby was maybe about 9 months old.
Hmm.
It because it was untreated, it went into like psychosis.
Wow.
Um, and I'm not ashamed anymore, but at the time, I tried to hurt Toby. Um,
Wow.
because I didn't know. Like it was crazy. Like hearing voices in your head telling you that little boy's not yours, and you don't love that little boy. And I knew sort of it wasn't real, but when it was constant in your ear, and it's clear as like how I'm talking to you, that's how I would hear those voices.
Wow.
I've started to believe it. But again, I would like sort of spring back to reality just a little bit and think this isn't real. And
Hmm.
what the final straw was, I slipped my wrist open.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Wow. At eight,
Um,
how old were you?
18.
Oh, so this was like straight, like wow,
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah. And that's when I realised I needed the help.
Hmm.
Um, Obviously, my relationship that I was in with Toby's dad, don't get me wrong, we're dead good friends and that now. Like, he's moved on, I've moved on. But at the time, we were just so really young and
Yeah.
he just wanted to go out and stuff like that. And I sort of like I wanted that too. Like I can remember like pushing Toby down like where we lived in the pram, and I would see people like going to college, and a little bit like it made me resent him, like Toby's dad and Toby. But
Hmm.
that was me being unwell.
Wow.
Um, and to be quite honest with you, I didn't really sort that out for a number of years, and I masked it and I hid it with drink and alcohol, like alcohol and drugs. It got to that point, it was that bad. Like, the thing about me is I'll hold my hands up about everything that I've done.
Hmm.
I don't lie about nothing because I'm not that person no more. I'm totally changed. But it
Yeah.
got to the point where my mum took over the care of Toby, and I would just go out. Sometimes I would go out for a week on end. I
Wow.
wouldn't see him. But like my mum had him, and that went on for quite a while, if I'm quite honest with you.
Hmm.
Probably till maybe Toby was about 5. And
Hmm.
then I sort of reeled myself back in a little bit.
Hmm.
And then obviously I got pregnant with Theo.
Yeah.
But at the time I was in like a domestic violence relationship and all again, with Theo's dad. who obviously isn't here no more, and he passed away. And it was drugs, alcohol, you know, stuff like that. And the final crunch was when Theo's dad, he attacked me when I was like 5 months pregnant with Theo. He stripped me naked and he tied me to a chair, and
Wow.
and he wanted to set me on fire. And at the time, Mark had schizophrenia. I'm not condoning his behaviours, but he was a really unwell man. And he had like a CPN at the time. And I really believe she didn't come in my home that day because he sort of like left me, and he went downstairs and she come up and like released me out, and I had to sneak out, like run out the house with no clothes on. And he was in my living room, smashing my living room up with a pickaxe. And I finally got in the car and locked the car, and he'd come out and he was like brain on the windows and stuff, and he'd be like, "Come on, Gloria," because I don't know why, but that's what he would call me. "You're being silly now, get out the car." And obviously the police come, and he was locked up for a lot of years.
Yeah.
But man, in his relationship, it was so volatile. Like, for instance, we were named Bonnie and Clyde in the local area. I mean, there was a lot of like drug use and alcohol and violence, but we were just absolutely obsessed with each other to the point where it was dangerous. He got quite a lot of years in jail for what he'd done to me,
Yeah.
but when he got out, he would never leave me alone. I'd have lifetime restraining orders on him. I remember I moved out of the home that we were in to somewhere else, and it was about 12 o'clock at night, and Theo was maybe about maybe about 3 or 4 or something like that. And I got a knock on the door, and it was social services with High Court enforcement, and they had a letter there and a car waiting outside for me. And they'd said to me, "If you don't get in this car, we'll take your child and we'll put him up for adoption," because his dad was getting out of prison because he was at
Yeah.
high risk. So I was forced, and I had to go into like into a woman's refuge in Liverpool, and it was awful, like absolutely awful. Like my little boy was really unwell. The social workers were saying if I brought him back, they would take him off me and put him in care. But then I was refused like medical care for him down there.
Okay.
So I just got my mum and dad to come and pick me up, and I just come home. And I waited for the outcome of it. But obviously, when I took Theo to the doctors, what had happened is his lung had collapsed. And so he was admitted to hospital. So because the hospital had said that it was like a severe case, they decided not to take my boy off me and put him up for adoption.
Wow.
So,
Wow. So I mean, you said a hell of a lot there. I just wanted to let you speak and say your piece. But like, when you look back now, how do you sort of like comprehend everything that you went through? Like, just because some of that stuff just sounded crazy. By the way, like,
I know,
it
you
sounded like
know,
a movie.
yeah, some people, like for yourselves, like some people, if I tell them my story, they're like, "No way, you're lying." I'm like, "Why would I want to lie about that?" Like,
Hmm.
and like other people are like, "Wow, you're an inspiration from where you've come from." And because no matter what Mark done to me, he was my soulmate. He still is. Like, he'll always be there. I couldn't break away from him.
Yeah.
I couldn't. And this went on for, God, about 15 years,
Hmm.
on and off. He was always recalled back to prison because he wouldn't leave me alone. We had a lot of social services involvement to the point where, like, they put me on PLO, which is like the last step, really, where social services are taking you to court to take your son off you.
Hmm.
And it was like it was quite. I couldn't understand it because although I was allowed to keep Theo, I
Hmm.
wasn't allowed to keep Toby. He had to go with his dad,
Wow.
which I didn't understand. That, like, the judge had said I wasn't mentally or emotionally stable enough to look after Toby, but I could Theo.
Yeah.
So I had to do all that. I was fighting in court with Toby's dad, which cost was about £27,000.
Jeez.
I sold everything that I owned just to pay
Hmm.
for it. I would work 7 days a week. Then I would go to college. I still managed to pass my college course and everything like
Wow.
that while I was still doing it. And
Hmm.
like like you say, I look back and I think to myself, how am I still here myself?
Hmm. I mean, that sounds crazy. Like a guy tying you up, stripping you naked, and tying you to a chair. That, God knows what have you look back on that? Jesus, man, that's mad.
And people would say to me, "Why are you still with him?" And it's like because I had to somehow, like, in my head think, right, was that him or was it the schizophrenia?
Hmm.
I just didn't know because with Mark, like, I don't want to paint this massive bad picture about him, although things were bad. But the reason Mark got to the way he did, because when we were 14, we were walking home from school, and this day he wanted to walk a different way, and I said, no, I don't want to walk that way, and I went another way. And I'm glad I went the different way, because he found a teacher of ours hanging in the woods.
Jeez.
So that's when it all stemmed from there. Then he went into the army. He served our country. He done Iraq, and the things he's seen there, I think that's what made him develop his schizophrenia. He served for about, was it 8 or 9 years, and then he had to, like, he was discharged because of his mental health, basically.
Yeah.
And what he had seen, like, some of the, he wouldn't really talk about much of his army life. He told me 3 stories, and that was that. And I don't know how them men do it.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, one of them was the children didn't have no, like, parents or anything. So there was this
Yeah.
little boy, Mark said he was about 5, he had no shoes or nothing, and he always wanted to hold Mark's gun. So Mark could let him. Mark went and bought him some shoes. This one day he went to go and get him some sweets to drop them off, and his sergeant had said, oh no, you can't do that today, or along them words, you're on shovel patrol. Now, I don't know if you know what shovel patrol is, but I'll explain. It's basically a pile of bodies, you go like that.
Wow.
And that's what Mark had to do. And that little boy that he basically looked after, in a sense, he had to pick his torso up with just his head and scop him. Yeah, so that was like one story. The second one was when they were out, obviously, in battle and stuff. His friend got, something must have hit him, a bomb, and it set him on fire. And Mark had to watch him burn to death, basically.
Wow.
So I'm not condoning his behaviours, like what he'd done to me, but
Yeah.
you can sort of, like, understand the way he was. Maybe a lot of people won't, and I do get off people, you're just making excuses. But as we go on with the podcast, people maybe understand why he was like he was, and, you know, it wasn't an excuse. I don't know whether you know what schizophrenia is like, living with somebody with that.
Well, I know what it is, but I mean, I can't imagine what it is. You know, obviously, when people say you're schizo, that normally means that, like, you know, they're off their rockers in, like, you know, in a non-medical term sort of thing. You know.
Yeah, it's schizophrenia. It's like with Mark, what it was. I think from the original cause of it, I think it stemmed from finding the teacher when he was 14, and obviously he never got treated for it, because Mark was old school. You know, you don't cry, you don't show weakness, and then obviously when he went in the army, it was you were taught how to fight, and that was that. No emotion or nothing, and that's just how it was. But, like, I don't want people, when this comes out, I don't want people, like, thinking, oh, he was just this big bad man that battered women and stuff. It wasn't like that. He was unwell. He was, like, really unwell towards the end. If he was on this podcast now, for instance, talking to you, he was 100% certain he was an alien.
Wow.
That's how bad it got towards the end.
So, I mean, was he not given help, like, throughout his life then, sort of, like, to manage it, sort of? Or...
He was just scopped in jail all the time.
okay.
He would go out and do things, and then it got to the point where, because of his violent behaviour with me, he wasn't allowed anywhere near us. And 4 years went past, and I would see him about, and, like, I could never have a relationship, because that person would find out who he was, and you'd be like, oh, we don't want him round. And, you know, because he would jump through windows, literally head first, if he knew I was there. He would listen under the air vents. And it got to the point nobody wanted me there, apart from one of my friends who I'm still dead close with. She was the only one that would still let me go there. That's how. But I understand why people didn't want him round, because once he went. He was a scary, scary person.
Yeah, I mean, you can't imagine, especially if people got children and stuff like that. You definitely don't want someone like that around. So
Nah, but that was when he was like he would never fully accept the help, because I think what it was, when we finally got the help from him, it was too far gone. It couldn't be saved, basically, in my opinion. And he wouldn't take medication. He thought everything had poison in it. He would only eat a sandwich that was cut in half like that, with cheese on and the corners off, and the crisp had to be on a certain side on a plate, and I had to carry it like that. He painted my windows black because he didn't want nobody to see in. The hallucinations he would see, it got that bad. It was like affecting Theo. So Mark was adopted. His parents, like adoptive parents, they took him when he was like 3 months old. And I think part of his mental health and all was he couldn't understand why his mum gave up him but kept his 3-year-old brother.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of history behind that. So, for instance, he started taking Theo out on a walk, and this one day they come back, and Theo was crying. And I was like, "What's up, son?" And he went, "It's my dad. He keeps saying that his real dad's just landed in the field in a helicopter and give us both a fiver, and he hasn't, ma'am." And he was shouting at him, "He fucking has, he has," and stuff. And I just thought, no, that was it. I told him he had to go to his mum's because I could see how much it was affecting Theo. And I made him stay there for a couple of days, and then he come home. But then he deteriorated massively again. To the point, like towards the end, I would bath him, even though he was mobile.
Yeah.
I would bath him. He would get out. He would just stand like that. No sounds or emotions, but the tears would just stream down his face. And I
Wow.
would pat him and dry him, and I would say to him,
Take your time, and honestly, I don't want you to feel like you have to say too much because you've already gone like this is meant to be a chill
yeah,
vibe chat.
he
So
was
just
just really unwell, like.
yeah, yeah,
And I just want people to realise, like, even though people have schizophrenia, they are still a human being.
yeah, definitely,
They
definitely.
still need, like, it still needs to be fair, like fairly treated, and Mark wasn't.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's just I just don't know if there's, if some people don't take the help, I don't know. And I don't know what sort of help is available as well, And I think if he said he's an old school type of guy, he was an old school type of guy, they don't like to admit that there's something wrong with them. It's just like, oh, yeah, I'll get better, whatever. And then obviously
Yeah.
they just deteriorate. But I mean, for you, geez, to go through all that and have to sort of live through that must be crazy. I mean, what would you say to people that maybe are like, because obviously there are some women that obviously don't have a sort of happy ending to it. Like some women end up getting battered to death, and
Yeah, they do.
it's happening quite frequently now. Like, what would you say to other women that maybe like in a relationship to spot these sort of trigger signs from people? Because obviously we know that it's not their fault that they're schizophrenia, but they're schizophrenia, whatever. But it's still, they're still having to. They've still you kind of have to, like you were saying earlier, you kind of have to put yourself first in a way,
Yeah.
because bottom line, you can't be you can't put yourself in a situation where someone's likely to just turn around and beat you to death, strip you naked, tie you to a chair. You
Yeah.
can't be that problem has, unfortunately, it's sad to say, they've got to deal with that problem in their own way
Yeah.
and find it, and they can come back if you want them to come back when their problems are sorted. But you can't have that around, especially around children.
Oh no, definitely not. And that's what it was like. Like we didn't see each other for a good couple of years, and Mark was just off the Richter scale and went back to jail for a couple of times for just stupid, silly, petty crimes and stuff. But because of his background, it was always like a long time for Mark that he had to go, if you know what I mean, because he was classed as like high risks and stuff. And it was, well, Mark's been dead 3 years now.
Wow.
Yeah, 3 years. He hung himself on my mum's birthday.
Wow.
Yeah, I found him with my other son Toby, and like,
Jesus.
yeah, cut him down and everything like that.
Wow.
Yeah, that was really hard. But what it was, we got back together. He got out of prison, and I believe I know for a fact it was his methods and his mum's madness. So she rang me one day because I'm really close to his mum and dad still. Like the house that I'm living in now, they keep
Bless me. Sorry.
all right. And she rang me one day and she was like, "Oh, can you just come down? We just need to talk about Figo." And Mark was there. And when you're madly in love with somebody, even though it had been years we hadn't seen anything, it was just there again
Yeah. Yeah.
instantly.
Hmm.
And this last time when we got back together, everything was great.
Hmm.
He was off drugs and stuff like that, and everything was great. I got my family back, just normal life, getting up in the mornings and taking Theo to school and then going for a walk and, sitting around the table at night time with my kids and my boyfriend. It was just all normal. And then something happened because to Mark, he was wrongly accused of something, and he was sent back to prison. And while he was in prison, he went into psychosis again, and he tried to dissect himself. So got like a blade, tried to pull his intestines out because he thought it was an alien. And then we actually won like the appeal, but when he was released into Carlton Clinic in Carlisle. It's like a psychiatric unit.
Yeah.
And he just deteriorated and deteriorated from there. And then he sort of picked up, and they released him out on my birthday on the 20th of December. And I thought everything was great. I really did.
Yeah.
He was like, "Let's take pictures and stuff like that." And it wasn't. Like, I was blind to, I don't know, I think because I just wanted this perfect life so much.
Yeah.
I think sometimes I blame myself because I was like, why didn't you see it? Because
Yeah.
now when I look back on the last picture I took of him, I was like, he looks so unwell. But I was just that wrapped up in what I wanted, I think. And I know that sounds selfish to see
I
what was
mean,
in front of me.
we've all got to look after ourselves. Like, if you were in this great, happy sort of relationship where he was treating you great, you probably wouldn't be doing anything else other than just being a mum and being a wife or
Yeah.
partner. But you weren't in that situation, so no one could really look at. I think most people are going to hear this and think, "Why on earth did you stay so long? Why do you know if you didn't you just get straight out of there?" That's what most people will probably say if they
And
hear it.
yeah, and I understand that and I appreciate people are going to think that. But
Hmm.
when you when you're madly in love with somebody like I was with Mark and still am, you can't just break. It was like, I'll be honest, it was like we were both addicted to each other. I think
Hmm.
it was an addiction because we'd just known each other for that long, and I don't know, like it wasn't all bad. Like we had a scream, me and him, like we went all over the place and stuff like that. I always knew that like it wasn't him, if you know what I mean.
Hmm.
I couldn't help myself. I was addicted to him like he was addicted to me, and he was my soulmate. He still is. As
Wow.
crazy as it sounds, and maybe I will get a bit of hate for, well, why would you stay and that? But my opinion, what I want to say to people is, you can't comment until you've been there.
Mm.
Until you have been in a situation like that, I don't think anybody can comment. Because, I mean, for instance, a friend of mine, she was getting, like, it was that coercive and controlling behaviour.
Yeah.
And I was like, how could you not see it and stuff? But then I thought, well, what a hypocrite you are, Lee.
Mm.
You've been in a relationship like that on and off for like 15 years or something, if not longer.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, like I know people are gonna think that, but I loved him. I still do.
Yeah, power of love, unfortunately, and that you just
It's
it'll make you see past anything when it's just
absolutely anything. Like I say, like you've heard like the worst that he's done to me, and I still went back. Yeah, it was years later because
Mhm.
I was a different person too. Like I got off all like the drugs, and when I say I was on drugs, I wasn't like taking them every day. It was like recreation. I was a party girl.
Yeah.
I got off everything like, and I would sit in house parties and I'd say, one day I'm going to be a beautician. One day I'm going to have my own salon. Everybody would laugh at me, and I'd done it. At one
Hmm.
point, I had 2 salons on the go. And
Wow.
when me and Mark got back together, he said, it's like falling in love with you all over again. He says, because you're a different person and everything that you said that you were going to do, you done. And that's what I did do.
Wow. Wow. Let's move on to that
Yeah.
sort of the brighter picture side of it, sort of thing. So anesthetics. Now you moved into that. You said you got qualified and you done all that. So what is it you're qualified to do exactly?
So I started off, I went back to college because I knew the route I wanted to take,
Hmm.
and I didn't want to, my opinion, 2-day courses. No, no, no. You can't learn the facial anatomy in 2 days.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
did it the right way. I went back to college and I done my level 2 and 3 in beauty therapy. Then I done A level in physiology and anatomy. So then that was like a good qualification.
Yeah.
And then after that, that's when I started like doing my courses for my anaesthetics. I actually do all my training with a girl from Bolton called Tasha Roper. She's absolutely amazing. She's changed mine and my kids' lives. So I started doing the anaesthetics about 6 years ago.
Hmm.
Yeah, it will have been maybe 6 or 7. And I've just built it up from there. So I started off just with your basic Botox and standard lips. Like now I do all sorts. I do like advanced anaesthetics. I'm in the middle of doing a degree so I can teach it.
Okay.
So I want to be able to teach it properly with all the new laws coming into place with the government.
Hmm.
I want when my academy is set up, I don't want the government coming and saying, "Oh, we'll have to take all your certificates because you went on a 2-day course." And
I think that is scary considering, like, because I've heard there's, and the famous thing at the minute is that butt lift, what they do with the fillers. Like, people are getting bloody sepsis and stuff like that, and it's going crazy at the minute. And it's like people are doing a 2-day course, and now they're qualified to do, like, butt injections and stuff like that. I mean, that sounds terrifying, but there are women getting it done because they're desperate and stuff like that, and then obviously sometimes it does go wrong, so
yeah, yeah. So I mean, I've actually had mine done.
have you?
Yeah, but I got mine done off my teacher. Like, she has got, like, Tasha is absolutely amazing. She's got so much experience. She's not one of them ones where she'll just take your money, because we're walking advertisement of their businesses,
Yeah.
stuff like that. But I agree with you. There's certain company, I won't actually name them, but they've done a girl's bum and she had to have half of a bum cheek cut out.
Mm.
I mean, with that, I don't think that it is quite a risky procedure getting that done, because all it
Yeah.
takes is for just like one air bubble or anything, and or to block an artery, which will cause like a vascular occlusion. So, which is where the skin tissue will die off, it'll go black, and then when that happens,
Yeah.
the bum's gone, isn't it?
I've seen a few of those as well.
It's the same with lips, though. That can happen with lips. Like,
Yeah.
like you've got to be really careful with what you're doing. And anyone can put a needle in anybody,
Yeah.
but you don't know where your main arteries are. You don't know what arteries connected to there, and you hit somewhere there, it could cause you to be blind. People
Jesus.
don't know that.
Wow. Well, it's good that
Yeah.
you're raising awareness to that, because I think there are some girls out there that just get really desperate and they're willing to go. They hit their friends down a 2-day course and they're really willing to sort of like go under the knife, so to speak.
No, I mean, definitely not. Like, there's another thing that's like a massive craze at the moment now. It's like boob filler. That is just so dangerous. Like, I don't understand. Like, it's just so close to your heart and everything
Yeah.
like that. Like, and the prices that the people are like saying for it. Oh, we've got an offer on £2,800. Go to Poland. I only
Yeah.
paid 2,400 for these.
So, what made you get all the sort of like? What made you want the boob job and the butt? Is it? What did you have? Like a butt filler? Did you?
Yes, I just had the butt injections off my teacher. I didn't. Don't get me wrong, I've looked into a BBL and stuff, but again, that's just, I think, no, I don't want to do that, because a lot of people are dying from them.
Yeah.
They're not, I think what made me get into it, I was bullied really, really bad when I was younger. From about the age of, I think the first time I can remember being called fat, and I've never been fat, I was 6. And it sticks in your head there.
It does.
Like, it really does. And then I used to do a lot of dancing and stuff like that. And, I would be like, I would sing in the choir at school. I wasn't a geek, but I just liked to perform and stuff. And there was girls that I fought with my friends, they all turned on me and hated me. Like, at one point, I remember they used to like set the fire alarm off in like high school. So we'd all have to go out, and
Oh no.
13, 14 of them would like jump on me at a
Oh
time.
really?
Oh yeah,
Jesus.
you've got no idea. It was bad, like it was really bad, to the point where like the teachers would say, "We think it's in Lynn's best interest and safety that you move her out of the school."
Wow.
So
That's
I got
crazy.
moved, yeah, and then I went to a different school, couldn't fit in. Well, not that I couldn't, I didn't want to fit in, and I just said, "I'm not going back to school," and that was at 14, and I
Wow.
just never went back. And I think that's what, them calling me names and bullying me, saying I was fat and I was this and I was that. I used to always think, when I'm older, I'm going to get these done, I'm going to get that done. And that's what I went and done. I went and got it all. And plus, out of all of my sisters, because I've got 2 sisters, I wasn't lucky enough to get the big boobs.
Okay, fair enough.
I got the flat pack. I got the
Fair,
flat pack instead.
fair enough. Fair enough. Fair enough. So, what's next for you then? Like next 5 years, what's your next journey? What do you want to achieve? What are you looking aspiring to? Or
Well, I've just actually, next Wednesday, I'm actually going down to Manchester, to a modelling agency. Obviously, I don't want to say the names or anything yet, because they've offered me a contract and stuff like that, like photo shoots and stuff. So I think I'm going to see where that goes.
be
As a photo,
careful. Be careful with that, because they'll say it's photos and stuff like that. Then, oh, do you want? It's a very like a lot of women get tricked into it. And first of all, it's like modeling. Then it's like, oh, would you do like topless? And then it'll be
yeah.
like, oh, we've got an agent. You could do like camming, and then it'll be like, oh, you can do OnlyFans, and like just be careful with
No,
that.
I've already told them. I says,
Mhm,
don't. I won't be doing nothing like that.
mhm,
I mean, I've got an 18-year-old son. Imagine
mhm.
that. Like, his friends going, "Oh, we've signed up to your mum."
That I mean, that is a big like. Obviously, it's one of those things at the minute where so many girls are getting into OnlyFans now, and X and a lot more stuff as well. And it is a big thing with the children thing, sort of. So I do try and obviously like I got sort of I was happy doing my interviews like I'm doing now, and I just sort of went through a stage of interviewing like 30 OnlyFans girls, and then
Yeah.
like they sort of asked me questions, and I sort of looked into it, and then obviously before you know it, I just became really good at like doing technical stuff on the site. So I became a sort of OnlyFans helper sort of thing. So yeah, but obviously. Yeah, I mean, I would never suggest. I mean, I never suggest for anyone to sort of just jump into it, especially they need to seriously think about it anyway.
I would never do nothing like that. Like each to their own. I don't. You see a lot on social media, like all these men and women, like
Mm-hmm.
saying, like bringing these women down, calling them all sorts. What has it got to do with you? Why are you so bothered? These women are getting paid for something. Why don't you just go and start on, I don't know, Lasso down the road that goes out every single weekend and does it for free?
This is what I say.
You
This is
know
what I
what I
say.
mean?
This is what I had this exact conversation the other day when I did a podcast, and I was like, a lot of guys and a lot of women and society is looking down at OnlyFans girls, but most of the ones that I know are just doing solo content on their own online.
Mm,
Whereas, and some of them are, most of them are really shy girls, and they've got really low sort of body counts. I know that shouldn't really matter, but
no.
but compared to girls that are just getting drunk every weekend, going out and sleeping with 3 or 4 guys,
Yeah.
so there is a lot of people. People do need to think about it when they're people. Ultimately, people just need to mind their own business as well, because
Yeah,
that's
like,
because that
yeah.
leads to the bullying. That leads to them telling their kids, that woman, she does this, blah blah blah, and then they see her kids and cause issues for them.
And then that could actually because people don't understand like what other people are going through at home. Do you know what I mean? Like that could
Exactly.
all happen. And then what if that woman then goes and kills herself?
Yeah,
All because
literally.
you just wanted to get your two pence piece in online.
Exactly.
Like, what do people do before Facebook?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
just
literally.
it is a good platform, like for businesses and stuff, but I also think it's a bad platform.
Yeah, social media in general is a bad, because even like you're talking about bullying. Like when you was younger, you said you got bullied. When you got bullied when you went to school, but when you went
Mm.
home, you were safe. But these kids now, they've all got sort of Snapchats, Facebook accounts, or TikTok accounts, and now the guys are bullying them when they're home. So it's like 24/7. So now you
Yeah,
you literally have got kids killing themselves because they're being bullied and they can't handle it. They feel like they're being harassed. That's
yeah.
why, like very tempting to take the mobile phones off the kids sometimes.
It is. It's terrible. Like my little boy Theo, like he's coming up 12. He has like autism and ADHD, and he has like attachment disorder and stuff with losing his dad. And this is how vile kids can be. But again, I don't fully blame the kids. I blame the parents because
Yeah.
I've always said a child is like a sponge. That child only absorbs what you teach them and show them. So like Theo, this was a couple of months ago. These kids had actually went into my Facebook, stole a picture of Mark and set up a WhatsApp group, added Theo to it and said, "Hi, it's your dad."
That is sick. That is absolutely sick.
Honestly, and as a parent, like, and then I've got people saying, "You can't do nothing, you can't do nothing." I know I can't, but you know what I mean? Like, the things that he's had to put up with, like, he plays on his Xbox and it'll be knock, knock. Who's there? Oh, no, your dad. Your dad isn't, is he? Because he's dead. And I just think, like,
That's sickening. Like what sort of parents are breeding these kind of children? That's what you kind of
exactly.
wonder. It's like, for instance, I had a lady that I interviewed, and she got rushed to hospital suddenly, and the doctors done some sort of surgery on. Well, they chopped off her leg, and then
I've watched that.
yeah, they chopped off her leg. That was a crazy one.
I love that.
But she told me that people online are getting onto her and bullying her. Like for that, I'm like, what sort of sick person goes online and bloody tries to harass someone for that? Like, she got her leg chopped off, and due to medical negligence, and there's just sick people out there. That's why you can't really, when people are coming up with all this sort of crap online and stuff, like you got to be very thick skinned. Let's just say that anyway online.
Oh yeah, definitely. I believe that. Yeah, you've definitely got to be thick-skinned. But I don't know. I
Hmm.
just think like things. I don't know. There should be a lot more security on,
Yeah,
like on the social media and that
yeah,
because like, especially with kids.
definitely,
Like I
definitely.
look through my son's phone and that, and he's he says I'm dead strict. Like for instance, if he has his friends round, he'll go, "Oh, by the way, this is a PG house," because I won't let them watch anything that's not age appropriate or out like that. But
Yeah.
I just think kids should be kids for as long as they possibly can.
1,000%. You've got to do your best. Like, if when you get them to, as long as your job is to get them to 18, 19 without any sort of serious sort of trauma dramas in their lives and stuff, and then they can make their own decisions. If they go off the rails, you've kind of done your best.
Yeah.
You're still there to help them, but there's only so much you can do from that stage. But
Yeah, and I think that's what scares me, like with mine. Like my eldest Toby, oh my god, he's an absolute dream. I always say if there was a catalogue for teenagers, he would be on the front page and bestseller. Because
wow,
he's never swore at me, he's just so polite and everything like that. He's an absolute dream. But they
wow,
both are. They're totally different though. But
wow,
yeah,
wow, wow,
it
wow, wow.
is, he's my best friend, Toby,
Wow.
100%.
Wow, amazing, amazing, and obviously so strong. When you look back at it now, like I know you must just pinch yourself, like, and just think, how the like how have you found, like, how have you found sort of like moving on? I know you said you got a partner now. How have you found that sort of thing, that sort of situation? Because some people find it really hard.
Hard, really, really hard. So Mark's been obviously three years he's been dead. Um, and the lad that I'm like seeing in that now, he's the first one that I've probably spent the most time with. Don't get me wrong, it's hard, like really hard for me,
Mm,
because in my head I'm like, for instance, if my phone goes off, I'll think that's a message. He's going to say he can't like deal with me, or he doesn't want to be with me, or I think, what if he kills himself? So I think,
mm,
right, put your walls back up and just move, get away, Link, because I don't want to be hurt again. But like my son Toby said, he went, Mum, you say you don't want to be on your own. Maybe you've got to take that chance and maybe get hurt again to find happiness again. But
mm,
it's really hard. Like I still feel guilty,
mhm.
like as if I'm cheating on Mark.
Yeah, yeah. Mm.
But I think to myself, if I didn't feel like that, if I was like just moving on straight away and like, oh, I'm dead happy and not a thought in my mind, did I ever truly love him? It's really really hard.
Yeah,
Like
I mean, a lot of people find a lot. It's a touchy subject. Some people are very sort of business-like with it. A partner dies or a husband dies, and they're like, right, he's dead. I'm gonna move. And some people move on within a month. Some people take years. Some people never move on. I don't think there's any right or wrong answer. It's entirely
yeah,
up to you. You've got, but you ultimately you do have to live your life, because there's a lot of women that are still dealing with bereavement, and they're just at home chilling by themselves, and that it's eating them up in ways.
yeah,
So you kind of do. It's hard. It's a tough subject, especially if there's children involved. It's a tough subject, but what can you
yeah.
do? What
And that
can you
was
do?
me. I was just like sitting in my bedroom, hiding
Hmm.
away, and like Toby would come in and he'd be like, "Mum, get yourself out." And I'd be like, "But I'm fine. I'm happy." Again, I wasn't. And you've got to like break that seal like yourself, and like I say, it's hard. Like grief, there's no time on grief. Like the other day, I was dead happy. I was out and about with the lad that I'm seeing, and then I drove home and I cried all the way home because he lives in Scotland. It's like a hour drive. I felt so guilty, like as if I'd just been cheating, and then I was thinking, like I'm not being nasty when I say this. Mark chose to leave us.
Yeah,
I'm still here, living and
yeah,
breathing. But
definitely.
all I can do is just see how it goes. I am hard work, but he understands what I'm like.
Yeah, I can imagine. I can imagine there'll be, like, you've been through that, so your guard and your walls going to be up, and as well, especially if you're used to sort of like domestic violence, the verbal abuse. If you're like, a lot of women find, if someone raises their voice, is he going to hit me if I say this?
Yeah,
You're kind of still on the eggshells a little bit, which is
that never
something.
leaves you.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. I don't think it does. No, I don't think
Like
it does.
now, like before I go to bed, when
Hmm.
Mark was at his worst, I would like even now before I go to bed, I'm constantly checking the door and the windows, and then I'll
Wow.
get up again. I'll go, and I've got to say to myself out loud. I know this sounds crazy, but I
Mm.
am a little bit crazy. I'll say door locked, so then I
Yeah,
know it's locked.
yeah,
Yeah, it never leaves you.
yeah.
It's just one of them things you've just got to like try and get over, as hard as
Hmm.
it is. Mm,
Indeed, indeed, indeed.
yeah.
Indeed. Well, I mean, it's been great talking to you.
You too. I've enjoyed it.
I got more than my bargain for, and you just started speaking. You were really nervous before, and you just
I
like
was.
you just wait. I did say this though, like some reason I'm very easy to speak to.
You are.
When people speak to me, they just literally just I just let them go. If they want to go. I think a lot of people watch this and they'll think a lot of things that they can take on board and stuff. Like, but very brave to get through it. In a way, you are a success story. You're alive. There's a lot of people that are going through the same sort of thing. And what would you say to someone that's going through that, like right at this minute, sort of thing right now? Because I know you said it's easier said than done, saying leave or whatever. But
I would say if you've gone through what I've gone through, if you've listened to what I've went through, believe me, it does turn out bad. There's no happy ending when stuff like that. And I
Hmm.
think my dad hit the nail on the head. He said Mark killed himself out of pure love for me and him, because it was rather going to be me or him. So my advice is try your best to get out, because believe me, it doesn't turn out right.
Hmm.
I've been lucky in a sense. I've managed to do that. But also the trauma of it, that'll never leave me either.
Hmm.
But all I can say is take your kids and go, because
Yeah.
believe me, it doesn't get any better. It
Wow.
doesn't. If anything, it gets worse.
Wow.
And
Beautiful
don't.
speaking to you.
Yeah.
And thank you very much for sharing your story with me.
Oh no,
It's
thank you.
amazing having you on. Um, Guys, this is Lynn Kyles. You can check her out on TikTok. What's your TikTok? Sorry.
I don't even know. Is it just?
I'll tag it in. It's not, this isn't live, so I'll tag it in anyway. So,
Yeah.
but yes, thank you very much for
Oh
joining me
no,
and
thank
sharing me your
you.
story. Okay, guys, Brudsy Entertainment, life stories and experiences. This was Lynn.